Om Bhurvavah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurvavah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurvavah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om. That's a cardinal. All right. I'm continuing on yoga topics rather than philosophy, but it's also philosophy. Yoga and philosophy go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. And today I'll talk to you about the subtle bodies of yoga. Okay. So, we call the self Atma. Atma, and there is Para Atma. Atma means the self. Para Atma means the supreme. That means if we call ourselves Atma, that we are small replicas. We're made in the image of the divine. That's what all the religions say. You're made in the image of the divine. Okay? And so we call you Atma. And now the physical body is actually just a vehicle for the self, for that self, or the Atma. The physical body is a vehicle for the Atma. And the vehicle is there so that you would reach back to your original self, which is Atma. So that's why we call it self-realization. But it's really going back to that particular source. And you have this vehicle for that particular purpose. And you use this vehicle in order to lose it as well. You incarnate it to find out and you incarnate it very simply, very innocently, and you were to learn how to create. And then we started taking credit for actually God's gift. So you took it upon yourself, and that's how we refracted into this being we are now. And we have to come back to who we really are. Because we were sent here to learn to create our life, to create the world, to create, so that and then we can join back. When you have self-realized, when you have reached that state, which might not be right after this life, it might be in a future life, in a different dimension, we don't know yet, okay? But when you have removed all of your karma, and there's no seeds left, you will not have to come back here. Then we are called self-realized. And then you will understand that this life that you have had so far, you have been the creator. You can't blame God. You can only blame God for giving you that energy. But everything else, you made a mess of. And without that energy, you couldn't have done it. Okay? Now, let's think about this. Your Atma is using the physical body as a vehicle. Okay? So, let's take under consideration the space separating atomic and subatomic particles. What appears to be solid matter is really empty. If you start looking at an atom, and I have mentioned it many times, if the atom is the size of this room, the nucleus is only about the size of this fist. And then the protons are running around, and they're even smaller. What is that space in between? Empty. We call it consciousness. We call it God's power. We call it prana. We call it ki. It's there. Space is emptiness. So what appears as solid is really not solid. Even this is not solid, even though it appears solid. It's made of atoms. Matter and energy are interchangeable. Everything has energy, all right? Matter is a lower vibration of energy, whereas what is open and spacious has a different frequency, and it vibrates faster, and therefore it is freer. This is a lower vibrational energy, and we see it as solid. So your physical body is really just like the brain. Once we know this fact, we begin to understand the physical and subtle bodies the mystics describe. And when we say a prayer, we say the three bodies of man. Okay? Today I'm going to explain to you what the three bodies are. They're different from what I usually tell you. Okay? There are three bodies, and they have 5 koshas. The 5 koshas we have studied before. You have, well, I'll explain them later. Okay. These 3 bodies are known as Sthul Shukshma and Karan Shariras, and each one is subtler than the one before. This classification resembles the Platonic concept of the physical body, astral body, and the soul. So I always say physical, astral, and soul. But here it is. Sthul Sharira is the dense, gross physical body. We call it Anna. The sheath is called Annamaya Kosh. Annamaya means Anna is food, and the body needs food. The physical sheath composed of bones, flesh, blood, etc., the one that you identify with. But it lives by food. And you usually take that body and feed it what it wants, not what you're supposed to eat. Now, its elements are derived from nutrients. It's born, grows, and decays, and dies. So don't get too comfortable with it, because it's going to die and decay. Okay? Shukshma Sharira. That's the subtler part of the body. And that is we call that the astral body. It has 3 sheaths. One, the Sthul Sharira had Annamaya Kosh. This has Pranamaya Kosh. Prana means energy, vital energy. Pranamaya Kosh is vital energy. Okay? It's the etheric double. It's made up of thousands of nadis. 72,000 nadis is what we really say. Whoever has counted them, I don't know. But there are lots of nadis, all right? Or astral conduits for which the life force or prana flows. And this is the link between body and soul. Okay, this is the link. Those nadis, all right? Then we have Manomaya Kosh. You do have a mind. Mano means mind. You have a mind. And your mind is subtler than energy. It has subtler energy. Your mind is not sitting in your physical brain. Your mind is using the physical brain. It is not your physical brain. Everybody thinks about their mind and goes, my mind. No, your mind is out there somewhere, and you're using to interpret that out there somewhere through the brain cells, okay? Now, it's 4 levels of cognition. Manas, the instinctive or lower mind. Ahankar, which is your ego, okay? The chitta, which is your mind stuff. It has everything in it, okay? We call it your hard drive with everything remembered in it, your chitta. And then your buddhi, or your intellect. Okay? So those are all part of Manomaya Kosh. And then the most important part that I always talk about is called Vijnanamaya Kosh. Vig means superlative, Gyan means knowledge. Vijnanamaya Kosh is the sheath of wisdom through which knowledge is transmitted to the intellect. That's your intuitive knowledge comes through that. The knowledge from your higher self, the knowledge from your sacred mind comes through Manomaya Kosh. Vijnanamaya Kosh. Okay? Manomaya Kosh uses a lot of the learning process that you're doing. Vijnanamaya Kosh uses your intuition, uses your gut feeling. You have knowledge that comes to you that you don't even know where it's coming from. You have no idea. All of a sudden you have this knowledge and you go, how did I get that? Now, how do you develop Vijnanamaya Kosh? It's very, very important to develop that, especially in children, to start using that. Most people have lost access to it. Now just think, any time that you are creative, any form of creativity, can be mathematics, it can be music, it can be whatever creativity, you are using your Vijnanamaya Kosh because your soul has to come through. Creativity requires Vijnanamaya Kosh because you cannot create from your brain. You can only create from the inside of you. That's why it's called creativity, because it comes from inside of you. It comes out of inside of you. Some of the composers, had tremendous emotional problems, and from those came the most beautiful we're talking about the ancient composers, even now probably, but I don't listen to that music, so I wouldn't know. From that comes the most beautiful music. From problems come creativity. From beauty comes creativity. So creativity brings your soul into the process. Okay. And when I teach the teacher's training, which I'm about to, I expect you to use your soul in teaching. Because you have to be able to teach from your heart, from the inside of you, not from the intellect. If you're teaching from the intellect, you'll mess up. In anything, whatever you're teaching, it has to come from inside of you. If it comes from inside, from the love, from the compassion, any subject that you're teaching, you can never be wrong. And if you are wrong, this is very interesting. If you're doing it from the heart, my guru, Mataji, my Yogashaktiny, used to say, if you do it from the heart and you think it's wrong, you will find out later that it turns out to be right. In other words, you cannot make a mistake if you're doing it from your intuition. Your mind might think it's wrong, but it can't be. Okay? And sometimes you go to a friend and they're in trouble and all of a sudden something comes out of your mouth. And it's just what they needed to hear. And you go, where did that come from? I didn't think that. It just came flowing out. Correct. Or, for example, we see this kind of work all the time. It comes when Vijnana Maya Kosha is working, even if it's not in creativity. If there's an emergency, people react from that part of themselves. They will not think about their health. A child is drowning, you will jump into the water. You might not even know how to swim because you're not thinking. It comes from your heart. It comes right in. This Vijnana Maya Kosha is so important. How does it develop in people? Creativity. And that's why we send the kids to this school and that school and dance and music and everything else in order to develop their creativity, because that's what develops. And if creativity is an absolute must for everyone, because it makes your heart happy. And you don't be creative for other people. Be creative for yourself. Okay? Just be creative. Just to be. To be. Not to show off. Not to show anybody. You can paint. You can dance by yourself. Scream and loud and sing. And nobody hears you. It's fine. That's what you probably do. And so that's called Mokshapriya. Now, Karana Sharira is the causal body. And in the causal body stores impressions as part of the karma that controls the formation and development of this body and the subtle body. It also holds Anandamaya Kosh, which is your bliss body. Your perfect body that you came with and you kind of refracted away from and you want to get back to. All right? So those are the three bodies, subtle bodies of yoga. So that's very important to understand. And so when we say the three bodies of man, you have the physical body, you have the astral body, and then you have the causal body. But the astral body has a lot of sections. So we have 5 koshas. You have Annamaya Kosh, you have Pranamaya Kosh, you have Manomaya Kosh, Vijnanamaya Kosh, and Anandamaya Kosh. Those are your 5 bodies. Okay? So it's very important. And the highest one is your Anandamaya Kosh. And that, Ananda, means joy. And once you reach that, you are full of joy. That's why joy is one of your basic... Joy should become part of your basic life. Joy. See joy in everything. Okay. There's a beautiful book of joy. Did you read that book? I love that book. Yeah, Tutu and the Dalai Lama. Okay? And they were, and you will see, self-realized people laugh a lot. No, not like that. And in this book, the two of them are teasing each other constantly. And somebody was monitoring them, and they were supposed to talk about joy. But in the meantime, they're going like this to one another just for play. Yeah, it's a very interesting, because that's how it is. The more there is always going to be problems in your life, always. But you have to keep the heart open. And joy is, the heart is open. That's what joy is. The heart has to stay open. It's very, very important. Without the heart open, you will have nothing but trouble. And this is what the problem is with most people. But you're afraid that the heart will get hurt. Yeah, of course it's going to get hurt. There's no question about it. But why keep it closed for the other parts when it's not going to be hurt? This I don't understand. With other words, you're allergic to joy. It's a world of duality. The heart can be full of joy or it can be hurt. Finished. Remember, and I have mentioned this so many times, when your heart is open, it cannot be open unless divine energy is flowing through you. That means your heart open means this part is open to a degree, not 100%, because once it's open 100% you're self-realized, but it's open and it flows through here and out. You cannot give love. Divine energy is needed to give love. And when your heart is open, you are opening yourself up to divine energy. Now, why would you want to keep it closed? Because somebody smacked you in the face? Or said a nasty word for you? For that reason, you're going to keep it closed and keep your the divinity away from you because you got insulted? Yeah, this is how silly we are. Got that? Keep the heart open. Yeah, you're going to be upset. You're going to close it for a little while and then you open it back up again. What's the big deal? Okay? You do exercises, your legs hurt. How do you get rid of the hurt? By more exercises. Okay? Same thing. The heart gets hurt. How do you get rid of the hurt? By opening it up more. Simple. Because if it's opened so much, it can't be hurt. After a while, it will not be hurt. Because divine energy is flowing through, and nothing would affect you that way. Only our ego gets hurt. And for the ego, we shut the heart. Ah, isn't that silly? Okay. That's the three bodies of man. Okay. Now, let's talk about vital force, prana, ki, adamantine particles, and the 72,000 nadis. All right? There are subtle conduits. When I was, well, never mind. The Sanskrit word nad means to flow. So the subtle conduits need to be flowing. And so pranamaya kosh flows through these nadis. And it is our duty to open these nadis up, to allow the physical, these nadis to flow. All right? And the main ones are Ida and Pingala. They run down the side of your body, the spine. Ida and Pingala. And they intersect each other 6 times. And where they intersect, that's the chakras. Okay? They go like that. Now, it is said to be Ida Nadi represents airflow through the left nostril. Ida, left nostril. And that is said to be cold, lunar, feminine in character, and of negative polarity. Pingala is the right nostril, heat. Carry solar, masculine, and positive energy. When both nostrils flow in harmony and flow completely open, which it doesn't happen. Usually our one nostril flows more open and then the other, which I talked to you about in polarized breathing. Okay? Then when both are open and flowing, your physical body will be in perfect health. Because the nadis are, where they intersect, all represent part of your physical organs and physical body. All right? They nourish those. So your nourishment does not only come from Annamaya Kosh. A lot of nourishment comes from Pranamaya Kosh. And you know, and you have read about great saints who don't eat. They get nourishment through the body through the energy of the world. Okay, they don't need to eat because they are in perfect harmony with their pranamaya kosh. All right, but since you're not that way, please eat. Now, when both nostrils flow in harmony, then Sushumna begins to open. Sushumna is a straight up. When Sushumna is open and starts flowing up from the base of your spine, which in Kundalini, which will be my next subject, of course. I'm going in layers so that you'll be ready for the next one. It's in 3.5 coils at the base of your spine. And then once it shoots up, it starts opening these centers. Okay? But that's when the Ida and Pingala flow well. They don't have to flow 100%, but they will flow at a certain time, and that will pierce the chakras. Now, when the Sushumna flows, then not only are you in perfect health, but your mind and spirit are in perfect balance and harmony. And you come back to the source. Okay? Yoga means union. Yoga means union. Yoga means union. Union with the Para Atma with Atma. All right? It cannot be achieved without opening up the Sushumna. Understand that. And now you understand why we do Hatha Yoga. Because we have a technique to bring the prana up the Sushumna. Okay? And there's always a polarity in Mother Nature, right? You have hot, cold, light, dark, positive, negative, male, female, and so on. Prana, or vital force, and consciousness are in these nadis. One is prana, one is consciousness. Okay. Pingala, Ida regulates consciousness, which is the feminine aspect, and Pingala regulates the energy of the body, the masculine. All right. Both needed to be in harmony for us to awaken our full potential. And even a slight awakening begins to awaken your potentials. The reason why people are not utilizing their potential, because everybody has a wonderful ability, a wonderful potential. Everybody has wonderful gifts that they came with. And the reason they're not utilizing it is because they close down everything. They close down the heart, they close down the Ida, they close down the Pingala, they close down everything, and they contract. And so the beautiful gifts that you have brought to give to the world are frozen within you. So you need to open them up. Okay. We practice Hatha Yoga in order to open up the body so that you can do pranayama. In Patanjali Yoga Darshan, we have yam, niyam, asana, pranayam. Pranayam comes after asana because the body has to be fluid in some form in order for the prana to flow. Okay? Now, we practice polarized breathing, which means alternate nostril breathing. Polarized means alternate nostril breathing. All right? But you can also activate the Sushumna through deep meditation. Because not all religious traditions use yoga. The Kabbalists use yoga. The Sufis use dance in order to get the energy up. And when you talk about opening up the chakras or the Sushumna and piercing the chakras, if you ever read Saint Teresa of Avila, she's talking about the 7 mansions. Isn't that interesting? 7 chakras. It's automatic. It happens. No matter what religion you are, if you are very spiritual and in meditation, these things will happen automatically. Okay? So it is through the 3 bodies of man. Okay. Now, what is interesting in polarized breathing is, or in the nadis, okay, the right nostril is for the left side of the body. The left hemisphere, it's time-oriented, space-oriented, it has verbal expressions, it's active, it's logic, it's the sun, and it's hot. Okay? That's the right nostril. Activates the left part of the body. Left nostril activates high hemisphere, parasympathetic nervous system, space-oriented, timeless, symbolic dilation, relaxation, intuition, moon, and cold. Okay. So, most important for a yogi is to start activating the Ida and the Pingala so that the Sushumna can start flowing. And so this is, my half hour is up. This is what I mean by the subtle bodies of yoga. Next week we will be talking about Kundalini Shakti. Okay, just one part of it. There's going to be a whole series on that. Okay. So with that, I will end this discourse. Oh.